Well, thank you again for having us all, Karen, for organizing this. Um, so we're just going in alphabetical order. And I met Kevin Anglade a few years ago when we were putting together the summer poetry contest for the library, which we did for 3 years. We thought was really a fabulous illustration of the diversity of Queens, because which has actually 139 languages in it. How about that? And people from over 60 countries. But Kevin is a writer, he's a poet, he's a scholar, and he's from Queens, New York. He currently serves as the rehabilitation therapist with an at-risk boys for the judicial branch within the state of Connecticut. Wow. And is an English professor in the general ed department at Goodwin University. He's the author of the forthcoming poetry collection, A Flower That Rose. So welcome, Kevin Anglade.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Am I starting off? Just wanted to be clear.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, you have the name that starts with the A. So that's it. It's also
No,
Arbor Day, by the way.
no, it's all good. I just wasn't sure. I just wanted to get the clear directive
Oh,
to start. So,
sorry. Yeah.
okay, cool, excellent. Um, well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you all, Maria, all of my fellow panelists of readers today, poets, and as well as Karen as well. So I'm just going to share a couple of pieces, some essays, and as well as some poems from my poetry collection, A Flower That Rose, which is coming out this July, July 20th of this year, 2021. Essay number one, the U.S. Open. On August 18th, 2014, I woke up at 4:30 a.m. to begin a temporary job working at the United States National Tennis Center in Queens, New York. I remember how humid it was as I took the bus in the dark. Upon entering it, my eyes burned whenever I would. It's way too early for me. I should not have to be going this, but by choice. My first day on the job fast paced as I learned what I had to manage for 3 weeks. As I suspected, it wasn't easy as the hours were long. But what made it unbearable was the fact that I had to stand on my feet all day with few breaks. First, I understood it meant to work a tiresome job, and I would go on to never forget what that experience was like. What made it so hard was the inability to process the few months that had led me to making the decision to work there. At the time, I was 3 months removed from graduating college, and a few months before that, I honestly thought that I had a career in publishing waiting for me. But it didn't take long for me to realize that God had other plans. I would soon learn that no one was going to give me any handouts. Therefore, I took what little bit of resources I had and created opportunities that would enable me to grow. April 8th, 2019. Doing what they said, you'd think by now I'd surely prosper. 2 years out of college, I've been living with no offer. Try to sort it out with theme and plots, that's when I author, but still can't shape this path with no lineups, I be my barber. This part-time sucks, especially when field has no relation. To stay afloat, that job's a crime to my good education. I can't do this, what good is this for me? I curse the nation. I understand why young black men are tested by their patience. A crippled arm, my mom is out of work, a stay-home mother, a good look charm, we need that to stay real amongst each other. I've stayed in place to feel like this, just visualize a stutter. This life is hard, one day I must provide for just my lover. I saw my pops for first time in 5 years since he was dying. I was okay, not true, cause to be honest, I was crying. He was unmarkedly hurt, his pain, guilt was trapped inside, no flying. Moving to now is just the same. It isn't better. I now will rise so that this rat can make some decent cheddar. Wherever I am headed, I just pray that it gets better. Sometimes I question faith. My thoughts are true. They're in this letter. All right, so that was patient. Essay number 3, 2015 E1. I found myself going through many transitions. Trying to find a job with my college degree was probably the toughest of them all. I can't even begin to tell you how many jobs I applied to in various fields, but to no avail. It was very frustrating to work at a college where I was being underpaid and felt as if I wasn't living up to my potential. That summer, I remember feeling burned out and exhausted by the strenuous task of registering incoming students for their upcoming classes as an advisor. Now, don't get me wrong, it was great that a horde of students were registering for classes, but I knew that there was so much more that I could have been doing. Due to the matter, I decided to go back to school for my master's, hoping that it would provide me with leverage in getting a better job sooner and rather than later. This next one is called Present a Gift. Life is like a game, so no, I'm truly on a mission. If I'd have known it'd be this hard, I would have signed petitions. The sh will stink like kitchen sink or missing link, no glitching. Now listen up, please hear my words sincere. This ain't no bitching. 'Twas just a teen with scenes and dreams the year I lost my sister. The pain was fierce like fractured toes or sores on lips like blisters. That day, no thrills, just chilling chills because she was a fixture. I think that was the year that God evolved this boy to miss. When I thought could get over my Lord threatened, my twas many thoughts that head the past which was a present when fashion. A man that's good and hard to find will be grind. When focused on the real like reels, appeal will boost cause rhymes. Ignore the wine and jewels cash that dime and says how it feels to me and pray through hurtful times. Now I recall as clear as if I remember time like Michael Jack, the day mom broke her arm. She screamed for help to no avail, to sound like an alarm. No white, no black, nor human track to help my mom from harm. I'm living out the present and I know I am the one. Since my dad left, I'm here to lead, which means no time for fun. I'm flyer than the kite you see when staring at the sun. It's heart, it's soul, ambition, goals, my life has just begun. I need to grasp all that I want, cause time don't cease, it runs. I'm trying not to fry my dreams like past grilled golden buns. I'm hoping I don't die in heat like staring at a gun. These roots will fuel and aid my path. I'll rest in peace like none. So that was Presence. This fourth poem is called Capital One. Donald Trump's a president, so the world's gone up in flames. He don't rock with me, and so he thinks my kind are lames. Love my Mexicans because they're not the ones to blame. Building walls, you cut us off, so no, we're not the same. The USA, it kills to pay. These taxes funding guns that spray. And on that day, they rode declared my death was where I lay. Shout out those kids I taught at grass. Because those Philly streets are with gats at night, those crawlers pray like bats. Countrymen don't like me. Everyone's scared to sightsee. Lest we hooping for Nike, judicial official indicts me. But moved in silence, shook. The violence can't get any louder. I'm not a product of the street, but still I'm Khalif Browder. Latino man laid out one time while I was at the bank. And so they rang up 911. They then brought in a tank of soldiers with blue hats and badges filling up their rank. What happened next perplexed me as my heart began to sink. The soldier told me, we're here now, so boy, get off the phone. His voice became aggressive as he tightened up his tone. Sharpened once again, as sharp as tip point on a cone. I called to save a dying man, but yet might need a clone. So tell my mom I love her just in case this man does shoot me. And just in case so tell my mom I love her just in case this man does shoot me. Sorry. So tell my mom I love her just in case this man does shoot me. And don't raise hell for me or cause a ruckus, just salute me. Prepping for demise in case this man decides to boot me. Show me some respect once I'm in peace. Don't film a movie. So that's Capital One. True story. True story. And this last piece is called Captive. And see if I can find it. It's here. Captive. This last piece is called Captive, in parentheses, from Ghana. I had a tremendous opportunity to go to Ghana back in 2018 to serve as a teaching fellow for a nonprofit called Limited Resources of Teaching Training. And while there, I got a chance to connect with a plethora of Ghanaian teachers who were learning how to teach and were utilizing and extracting the methodologies and as well as the pedagogies of American and as well as UK teachers to kind of implement within their practice. And while in the country for about a month, I got a chance to really observe the culture, understand how the people interacted with each other, and just learned about the simplicity of it all. So I kind of wanted to take my experience and connect it back to the experience of a person such as myself in this modern day present time within America. So I kind of wanted to blend the two in terms of like the the experiences, and as well as understand from a place of privilege how privileged I am to have been born and to grow up in this country with all of the atrocities and all of the racial inequities that still persist to this day. So this one is called Captive from Ghana. These crooked cops patrol just to put you in the lasso, want to lock you down like them captives within the castle, control you with their fear and hate. It's really hard to grapple. So you close a tight hard lid as if you were a Snapple. Living in America can truly be a hassle. Roots go deep and south, they make you really want to wrestle. Your mind go back and forth as you're dealing with all the trauma. Got you wondering if tomorrow will you be seeing mama. Since I'm Mina, man, my true language is all the trauma. Trace my heritage like the Queen, Michelle Obama, Jordan Davis, Rodney King. They sweat you out like sauna. No difference from the slave force for that. I speak for Ghana. But let me make this clear. All I do is just speak the truth. Cause if it is not me, who on earth here will teach our youth? A daddy living all of his dreams inside the booth while baby chick home resting in nest with Mama Ruth. I say these words intently, progressing to public figure. They say that they hold work, which means that I'm getting bigger. Where they say that I am violent, which means that they'll pull the trigger. And even when I'm good in this life, I'm still a nigga. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
I wish we could unmute and just clap, but I guess we could do that.
That was amazing.
Thank you so much. It was amazing and powerful and passionate, and it came across even on WebEx.
That was awesome, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin. Our next reader is Pichchenda Bao, and we met on a very, very rainy night at Q and Willow Books. She's a Cambodian American writer and stay-at-home mom in Long Island City. Her work's been published by New Ohio Review, the Adirondack Review, and elsewhere. She's currently on a really juicy, juicy residence at Bethany Arts, where she's working on her first poetry collection. So let's welcome Chenda Bao.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Maria, for inviting me to read, and thank you, Queens Public Library, for giving this space to poetry. And I love the Queens Public Library. We're there all the time with my kids, and I can't wait for it to open up. And thank you, Karen, for corralling us together. And to the other poets here, it's such a pleasure to read with you all. I'm so excited. So today is my oldest son's 9th birthday. So I thought I would read some poems that feature him. But I actually am going to start out with a poem that has nothing to do with him, but I just sort of, in this moment of increasing violence against Asian Americans, this is just a poem that I just need to read. At the end of this rope, our Father, who could not be, their loving Father and protector, starts in heaven but ends on the breath of those who did not watch over these women. If you cannot give us back this day, this wretched, this everlasting, this utterly predictable, this graceless day, hallowed be thy name. Take back now this daily bread of hate and guns. Give us back the murmurations of days, migrations of days, generations of days, lamentation of days, the whole dam of days he took from them. Or else forgive nothing, while we are forced to live with the daily violations of white men, their coddled trespasses, their impotent temptations. Let the willful oblivion of their manifold violence be done. Is this not thy kingdom? Come to the massage table, altar of the body in pain. Lead us to the human hands that need your all-knowing heart, though you know as well as anyone how grief is no deliverance. On earth as it is in heaven, confess our blasphemies, for we are yours, now and forever. Are we not? And then next poem. Muscle memory. I don't remember Cambodia, but after I gave birth, my mother said to me, "Now you know." I don't remember Cambodia, but I heard her nostalgia pinging like an implacable phantom limb, and I knew she was wrong. What did I know of making a family from missing parts, from deep starvations, from the absurdity of who lives and who dies? I don't remember Cambodia, but my mother likes the story of how I never cried, so she didn't have to leave me there in Cambodia. I think she liked watching the audience consume landmines, the hostile crossing, and the brave mother and infant making it through. I don't remember Cambodia, but how long can this debt keep accruing? What could be the terms of forgiveness for a life knitted whole with loss? And in that room where I couldn't help but cry, I will admit I had wanted no mother. I don't remember Cambodia, and now I am trying to guide my new son's mouth to my nipple, as my mother must have done, her mother too. We've joined the ancient bedside litany of newborns and mothers and mothers' mothers, but I don't remember Cambodia, and my mother is leaning over me to help, only help, and I flinch away from her. And this next one is assimilation. There is only one true faith. Catholic catechism like a cross I carried to our dining room table, were platters of whole roasted ducks, their glossy gold necks curled under, large bowls of steaming rice and stew, and arrangements of ripe fruit were offered in ceremony to our ancestors. I paid no attention to the words my father spoke, the 3 Buddhist invocations, his supplications to our dead. Instead, I watched the burning tip of incense, a slow, red-hot blasphemy traveling down my father's prayered hands, its pillar of ash on the brink of falling. When my mother set aside a full plate of food for ghosts, I did not know what to believe. I was taught that God only fit inside a pristine mouth, and I was zealous in the way only a child can be when given a set of unassailable rules. I spoke in perfect English until even my own name became a tiresome translation. Did I know then that I would be forever altered, that my tongue would harden into a muscle memory of rejection? Even so, who would hear my confession? This is not a penance. To my children, I say, turn to your grandparents. Sampai with your palms pressed together to your forehead. Repeat after me. Satuk Maye, Satuk Bokta. Amen, grandmother. Amen, grandfather. Amen, this routine greeting and blessing. Amen, each attendant burst of glee from my aging parents. Amen, the supple, open tongues of children. Amen, all the things that must survive and their dear costs. Give us this day. And I just have two more. And this is one that I wrote, one of the only poems I've written in this pandemic. And it was from a prompt actually from the Philly Poet Laureate, Trapita Mason. And she asked people to write a poem about the day before we all went into quarantine. The day before. Were the kids taking flight across the empty baseball field? Or did they perch in the branches of a spindly pine tree by the table tennis court? There's a hole they've been working with sticks, a hollow patch in the lawn. This is where a volcano might erupt, or chocolate may be mined from the depths of the generous earth. Don't talk to them about cocoa beans or fault lines. Let them live here forever. And then I'll close with this one. And happy birthday, Louis. You must keep kissing your children. You are afraid of their dying, or your dying, or something unseen in the space between that might lead to more death. But the aftermath is already here and unimaginable. Dear ones with your electric hearts, keep holding their tiny fingers, whose first instinct is to grasp whoever holds them, and let them feel the soft yield of cheeks to the pressure of love. Imprint this briefest, deepest pleasure, repeated at will, upon request, and with utter, utter abandon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. Our next reader is the recipient of a 2021 Rauschenberg Foundation Artist Grant, Paolo Javier's fifth full-length book of poetry, OBB, aka The Original Brown Boy, a weird post-colonial techno dream pop comics poem, will be published by Nightboat Press Books in this fall. Born in the Philippines, he's the former Queensborough Poet Laureate. He lives with his family, his really beautiful family, in Sunnyside, Queens. I'm a big fan, and he's a good friend. So let's welcome Paolo Javier.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Maria. I'm a bigger fan of yours. And it's such a delight and a pleasure to be reading with everybody. And happy birthday to you, Louis. You know, I'm going to actually read poems from this collection, The Feeling is Actual. I think it has to do, the decision has to do with similar, thinking as Pichchenda. I'm outraged and flummoxed by this relentless anti-AAPI hate. And the erasure and the invisibility continues to gnaw at me. My daughter attends a progressive school and they won't even acknowledge it in her progressive school. It's that bad. And I'm reading this book because it's a book whose title is made from a mistake. The feeling is actual. And that's the kind of English I know so well, Wronglish. So I think Kevin started us off with a tennis poem, so I'll start us off with a tennis poem. You were delivering a single. You were about to get into the rhythm, and your weight was on your back foot when you demonstrated that beauty knew no bounds. You were clearly the one. You were clearly playing better than anyone. You were the reigning open champion of the heart's floodlit court. You were the value. You were number one among the constellations, and Venus number two. I always felt that you were beautiful in the classical sense of the You were a young woman who's always faced the challenges of life with cerebral poesy, You were a sweet 14-year-old. You were 2. You were 24. You were a born survivor. You were otherwise known online as St. Clara. Once, during our first month together, on the last leg of an unplanned trip into the valley, you drove me to a beautiful rented home in Rocky Point, situated at a short distance from Milan, located in Manzanillo, one of Chile's oldest cities next to one of Chile's oldest towns. It was a city of old world charm then. It was a city with a population of just over 100, and you were their memory resident. You were a flame. You were a pleasant sea. You were the word for mermaid in the Philippines. You were a pair of mango juice stained fingertips. You were a birthday back rub and a lingering kiss. You were chocolate. Then one day you died in my arms in a dream where I got usurped by a powerful player with a killer serve who was always much more gregarious, who was sure to impress anyone upon arrival. Now, this powerful player is neither 24 years old nor attends Juban Junior High School in Tokyo, is not as good as Venus once could have been, is not a black smoke British short hair born May 18, is not your fabulous imported Shire mare, is way behind in any of those categories compared to the players with which he will surely be judged in time. I was determined to drive out this interloper and his household of manservants. You were no longer a welcome guest in my house. You were hurt, but you were unbeaten, and because of that, you're probably off right now apartment hunting in the margins of Brooklyn to be near him. And you will serve, and you will volley, and you will deliver it to me, blow by blow. And these last 3 are the only things about you I would ever truly want anyone here to know. And I'll read from the last poem, which is a long poem, and I'll just read a couple of sequences from it. It's made up of short poems, so it's a serial poem. It's called Feeling It's Actual. And when I made this poem, I was imagining a young person learning English for the first time. Why did I always use the wrong words? Should be other words that are more suitable. Language is quite strange and make me so confused. I often cannot understand what they say. I want to hide in a place that makes me comfortable. This sofa feels like the peafowl's feathers, very comfortable, make me feel ecstatic. I can also listen to the tone of the foreign language, knowing that only this kind of language expresses such unique images in life. In fact, I just need to imagine what I want or fancy what will be happened. If I don't want something to happen, I go away. I miss my home too. Time can stop in any time, for the weather is cold all day long. All day long, I miss my home, for the weather is cold. I don't want to go to school. Going to school feels like carting, but mother won't help me. Time won't stop just for you. Time can stop in any time. It can stop at 6 o'clock. I can be this way concedingly. Sounds she makes me to make. Hoopoo-padoo, hoopoo-padoo. Watching the red darner being chased at sunset memories. That's what I forget. I remember happy things. If the happy things are what I remember, is that means I am sad when I forget? It's not that I don't remember. I love to remember happy things. Besides that, I don't know. I can't remember a lot of things. I'd like to remember more. I'd like to know. So I was a house princess, and especially my dad was a king to me, and my mom was a queen. The things that I know a lot about are musty woman things, things that I've learned from Mom. I was following her footsteps, and I am too determined to make my way alone. I was not a great cook, but I have a great eyes for details. Gold cup is pain. 1 is matchsticks. 3 is oranges. 13 is blanket. 31 is 27 cops. Shark equals bus stop. Shrimp equals wooden stick. Turnip equals school bus. Red snapper equals bathtub. Peacock feather equals sofa. Should say, quote, boxes on the road, end quote. The shark in the station should say, quote, taste of the times, end quote. If I'm like a piece of bok choy, then you are probably a piece of broccoli. But I do think we are in the same pot. Do you know what I mean? We are quite together. That's what I feel. It's just the communication thing. Tangerina. Not to beat around bush, but your laugh was an infection, so I cut to the cheese. What would I lose to gain? You get to that chicken when it crosses the bridge. When time is of the elements, you take things first at a time. Lalo na kung the feeling is actual. I was always taking clothes apart and putting them back together in unusual ways. I couldn't talk to my dad for years because of the choices I made, always away from home, pushing for some other things he didn't think I should want. When I've already took the wrong way, I walk toward the sea, the meaningless language, the noises and smells of the city. Maybe he can see now that I am strong and with good people. What I need, wo aini. The sea is warm and the horizon is soft, like the phrase, ebb and flow. It likes to run toward the sea, windward at sunset. Images, those sounds, smell, and places. Shanghai, I've been there before. It feels like being embraced by the deep blue sea. I don't want to leave here. And I'll just end with a very short poem by the great Chinatown poet Francis Chung. I just want to say, and I'm a progressive, but this is for all the progressives out there. Asian Americans are people of color too. We are not monolithic. We have one of the most impoverished groups in our group, and we need everybody to stand up when you see violence against us on the train, on the streets. I cannot for the life of me understand how elderly and women with children can continue to be attacked like this without anyone doing anything to stop it. So please stand up, take a bystander class, and see us for who we are. We are people of color, and we matter. Abuse by Francis Chung. The boogeyman follows me home, thinking I'm a young Chinese virgin. I shake him off, seek refuge in a restaurant. The kids in the neighborhood get their kicks, throwing watermelon rinds at my sister and me. We try cursing them, strange to say words like mother flucker and fluck you in a loud voice. My neighbor spits down on the man selling vegetables. Catholic school students push and bump into old and young Chinese on Mott, making the young girls cry. In the school lunchroom, Chinese students are kicked by lunch monitors. Coins are extorted. Fucking China doll, Miss Wonton, pussy pussy, I want to eat your pussy. Mokkahiya ding ding. And that last line is actually Lower East Side slang for go fuck yourself. Thank you all.
I love Francis Chung. And in fact, I have a poem that I'm going to read that's based on her poem. So thank you for that. Sorry, I had skipped Safia, and actually she was supposed to be next because he's Javier, she's Jama. She was born to a Somali father and an Irish American mother in Queens. Her poetry has been featured on WNYC's Morning Edition and CUNY TV's Shades of US. She's the author of Notes on Resilience, which was selected for the New Generation African Poets Chapbook Box Set Series. So welcome to Safia.
Thank you so much, Maria. And to all my fellow readers, such a pleasure. And thank you, Karen. And shout out to the Queen's Libraries. So I'm gonna, also some of my students from Baruch College may be tuning in. So hi, and hi, Mom. So I felt the desire to read some new work today. The first piece I'm going to read, I actually wrote a year ago, although in poet time, that's new work. And so here goes. And when you think back to what was happening a year ago, lines I wrote today, March 21st. 1. South Brooklyn, Casket Co., Union and 3rd Ave. Used cars, financing for everyone. You work, you drive. Ice cream truck with old school tunes. Thomas Green playground, no pets. Across the street, red vertical sign, 24/7 pet emergency. 2. I am a non-essential worker carrying a small notebook. 3. The chalkboard outside Lucky 13's saloon. Time to give your liver a break. Further down the block, beer to go. Wildy's Brewing. A truck, small, white, boxy. Matthew Arnold, Armas, Funeral Solutions. A couple carrying home a 5,000-piece puzzle of what? A young man has bought $6 carnations, burgundy with white edges. 4. Dogs, overstimulated, used to more alone time. Puckered miniature daffodils. People gather around a stoop. Free bouquets, take one home. I cross the street to avoid the people. 5. What I didn't write down. The man sitting alone at a picnic table. The restaurateur, stricken, hands folded across chest. Shoe store number 1. 2 days left. Shoe store number 2. Everything must go. A security guard taping multiple copies of the same sign to glass doors. Emergency. This entrance is closed until further notice. Please enter hospital at 6th Street Pavilion. 3/21/2020. Okay. So that was from a kind of notebook that I kept for about 2 weeks at the start of quarantine. And I would sneak out and, write things down. So I'm going to read a few poems from Notes on Resilience, my chapbook. Beware of titling a book Notes on Resilience, because that will test you. So note to self. Notes on Resilience. Mom writes, Dad is fading, and that is fitting, for tonight's moon is leveled into a perfect half. Peace is not so much a presence as an absence. What is not there can no longer touch you, whether to harm or hold. You're through and so full of wind, even the leaves have left. A student of mine once said, Father is like mountain. I didn't understand. She said father again and again in her language, but I couldn't produce the sounds. What is it to lose a father? How can a mountain disappear? So it's been a while since I read this next poem publicly. Quick story, I used to take walks when I was quite young, starting around age 2, I think. Home leave. A girl walks out the door into the half-yellow light. Why did the chicken cross the road? And other questions riddle her mind. Piss trickles down her leg. She lets it. She crosses a black river to reach the playground. She crosses a black river in her mind. Where are you going, little girl? Sometimes I feel like a motherless child a long, long way from home. Memory, my father placing shirts into a light blue suitcase. Mother annoyed. You always leave it to the last minute. I'm the same way. I sniff around the suitcase tentatively. I drag it out, then think, why not pack light? A bundle tied to the end of a stick will do just fine. 1983. My father is flying to Ethiopia. You can't go, I say. There's no food. You'll starve. Don't worry, he laughs. I will have plenty of food. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child a long, long way from home. My mother will find me alone in the empty playground. She will tell me the story years later, wrist dangling over the steering wheel. You were so little, she will say, too little to be left alone. Ruth, you see, needed my help. She begged and begged. My mother will wipe away a single tear. I will walk to the empty playground. I will wait in her nightmares, sitting on a swing. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child, a long, long way from home. So, I hope my sound is okay. I have a pretty old school tech over here. The final poem in my chapbook is called Elegy. Elegy. We watched other families and choked on the smoke from strange grills. We drank whiskey in the dry heat and planted trees without names. We thought we saw an oasis in a clock tower, but that was a movie. We crocheted little children. We heard the school bus groan on the long ride home. We pitied the unhappy couples shipwrecked in restaurant windows. We defended the old baseball stadiums and coveted other people's dogs. They did not belong to us, but we still missed them. I'd like to close with a super duper new poem. So much so that I had to write it out in a notebook because apparently the neighborhood was out of printer ink earlier this week, so strange times we live in. Here goes, my final poem that I just titled this morning, After Long Illness. Like a baby, you notice your hands, braided veins, lifelines like wishes. Palms down, you see a mole west of thumb. The night nurse said, you have small veins. But look, a blue tuning fork. The left hand snaps, but the right can't. An age-old mystery until you bend that quiet thumb taut, then bop to interior music, playing your own bones. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Safia.
Incredible.
Looking at your lesson. Safia, yeah, that was really good. It wasn't so easy to keep journals actually during the pandemic because every resolve you would begin with would sort of fall apart somehow. That's my experience. I'm going to read a kind of old poem to start with, and I'm going to read it in Italian and in English. And it's a little bit, well, you'll see. I'm not Gonna explain it. They always tell you don't explain it. Okay. Lo stesso. Vorrei dire a questi donetti cinesi, dalla voce rumorosa, di sedersi vicino per non gridarsi a vicenda nel vagone del metro, sorvolando il mio capo, frantumando il mio spazio. Offre il mio sedile. La donna della permanente corta, rosa come cresta di gallo, comune nei mercati cinesi, mi sorride, ha 32 denti e senza di aglio e cipolla. Scrolla la testa di un lato all'altro, come una mossa tai chi, come accendo di no, 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 come per dire faccio acquisti a Costco, porto jeans e piumino di North Face, ma non sarò mai occidentale. Non abbasserò la mia voce cinese neanche una singola decibele. Non per accomodare te e il tuo anglo silenzio nei vagoni metro, che non sono cappelle né proprietà privata. Ricordo di mia nonna il vocale staccato calabrese risuonare contro un muro di mattone di un vicolo del Queens. Lo stesso sprezzo, lo stesso orgoglio, lo stesso rimpianto di trovarsi in America. So here's the English version. It's one of my subway poems. The same. I want to tell the little Chinese women with the loud voices to sit beside each other so they don't shout across the subway car over my head, shattering my space. I offer my seat. The lady with the short crop perm, red as a rooster's comb in a Chinese market, gives me a toothy grin. The essence of onions and garlic, shakes her head from side to side like a Tai Chi exercise. No, no, no. As if to say, I may shop in Costco, wear American jeans, a North Face jacket, but you'll never make me a Westerner. I won't drop my Chinese voice a single decibel to suit you and your Anglo silence on subway cars, as if they were chapels or private property. I hear my own grandmother's staccato calabrese vowels clang against brick walls in an alleyway in Queens with the same defiance, the same pride, the same sorrow to be in America. I think there's a reason Chinese and Italians can live near each other. They're loud, and the women are loud. This piece I read, I wrote actually for a sculpture that I saw at the Noguchi Museum. It was called Noguchi, it's Brilliance is the name of it. The clean, smooth, and brilliant break on the side of the stone stands before me in a nearly perfect gallery shimmering with a halo. It doesn't belie what's been exposed, streaks and veins of colors that tell tales of the catastrophes, the volcanoes, the clamoring of stones on an ocean floor for a millennia or two. Now the slant of sunlight reflects a clean cut, a polished face. I run my palms over its surface, safe, no bumps or ridges yet. It took a deliberate, violent attack to tame the stone, to awaken it, to cope with it by any means, destroying a pathway to pain to make room for something new. It's really a very beautiful stone. This piece, I'm going to read, I'm sort of jumping around. I don't want to take too much more time. Let's see. I have, I just got a piece published in Mom Egg Review, which I was really excited about. So I'm going to read that. It's called Fading Memory, and it's from my mother-in-law. She releases energy as if tugged by an invisible Scirocco. She sets aside her attempts to make room for binders labeled and dated, runs when no one is labeled and dated to mark moments of clarity. When no one is looking, her hands run over notes on her calendar, as if they were braille, to pierce the fog of memory. The pads of her fingertips are animated, and soon they will reveal what day it is, the names of those most dear. Her son intervenes asks the same questions about her past, the places she once knew. It disturbs the gray reams of her mind in a world now peopled with Giacometti stick figures instead of humans with voices and breath. I was living with her on and off as she was fading into Alzheimer's. I'm going to read, this piece is in the anthology Poets of Queens, which I think some of you guys are in, almost all of you guys. And it was edited by Olena Jennings. I blame grief for making me go back to the sock drawer, run my hand over and under socks in various states of being, matching and non-matching, down deep to the ironed and neatly folded handkerchiefs your dad left behind, you so eagerly tucked flat in your back pocket, clean, ready to wear, ready for me. I place one in my pocket. My fingers play within its folds, twisted around like cotton rings. Recall how my own father was at my side, gently wiping tears and scrapes after a fall, the heft of his presence, that trusty cotton against a wound. And I was introducing some poets to a really magical group of participants in a workshop I was doing through the Queen's Library. So this is after Francis Chung's Riding the Subway is an Adventure. Riding the high and low tides of grief is an adventure, especially if one is new to this, did not see it coming. One can get lost. One gets anxious and does not know how to navigate it, get in and out of it, not drown in its shallow and deep waters, its sinkholes that lead to a day or a week of simply treading that water. One cannot see the sun or the moon or stars or the change of seasons or hear the birds lilting outside the window. One woman discovered the secret. Ride the waves out. Let them toss the griever about at the shore. Some days the tossing will be strong and the sandy floor will bruise. Other days the waves will mix with tears, so much so that it will be hard to know if it is the ocean, the lake, or the tears that are staining your cheeks, sending grief to its own watery grave. Yeah, I do a lot on grief. So, okay. I think I'm gonna read this poem is sort of new and it came out of another prompt when we were working on golden shovel poems, which was really fun. I had never done that before. I think you were there for that, right, Pichchenda? I'm not sure. Maybe in that group. Anyway, so this is after the Gwendolyn Brooks poem, We Cool. 79,000 of us marched arm in arm. We suspended our breaths until we could see the real crowd behind us and in front of us, staying cool, sharp, and quiet, standing almost still. We didn't dare shift our bodies or sway or sing left-wing songs because this was a new time. Life as school experience brought us here to a place we could not have imagined as children. The lurk of banners, signs, political placards, and slogans of late. What we shared was one thing, one reason, one voice as we stepped up, walked shoulder to shoulder, a day to strike. Never mind if we are queer, trans, or straight. What we know now and could not know then was that we have voices so loud that reach so far, especially when we sing. The phalanx of brothers in blue hang their heads with sins of shame and prejudice. Maybe they too think real hard as we look like their mothers, sisters, wives, girlfriends. Some soft and thin, others large and long and loud with fire in their eyes, food in their bellies and gin on their breaths. But they come with us too, because we gotta be blind to our differences, hold our breaths, dream of jazz, so sweet, so sure, of melodies we heard on nights in June, far from crowds, settled into a corner of our own, where we have to face our public and private lives, where dreams die and children are born in time to take up our chance real soon. So I think that's it for us. It's 9:51. I think that was just under 10 minutes. And I know Karen's got to she's got to go home, otherwise she becomes a pumpkin. That's how WebEx is. It's a very strict mistress. But I want to thank everybody. You know, it's so funny because I kept sending out invitations, but every time I sent invitations for the reading, I realized there were like 9 million events going on at the same day. It's like, so, but I feel like I was sitting in a really nice salon listening to the four of you. So I'm really glad that you could come, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about Bethany. And whatever you're working on again in the future, Safia. So I hope we can see each other soon.
I hope so too. That was beautiful. Thank you, Maria.
Oh, thank you. It was so much fun.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, everyone.
Karen.
And I want
Thank
to
you, Karen.
thank
Everyone.
all of you. Thank you. Kevin, Pichchenda, Safia, Paolo, and Maria. Hopefully I said everyone's name. And thanks to the audience. And I want to invite everyone to continue with Literary Thursdays. Next week, we will be hosting Larry Kerwin, who will be discussing his book, Rockaway Blue, which is a novel about a father's search for the truth about his son's death on the North Tower on 9/11. So please join us next week and each Thursday at 4 p.m. for Literary Thursdays. Again, thank you to all our panelists and the wonderful poetry that we heard today. And thank you everyone for attending.
Okay.
Have a good rest of the day.
Pleasure.
Bye-bye all.
Thank you so
Everybody.
much, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. That was such amazing work.
Absolutely.
And
You look so happy.
see,
Yeah.
I don't have my kids with me.